The space game has finally landed, and oh boy or girl or other, what a space game it is. Indeed, Bethesda's hotly anticipated sci-fi RPG Starfield is here at long last, and it's every bit as good and, in places, buggy as we'd imagined it would be. With over 1,000 planets to explore across more than 100 different star systems, there's no shortage of things to do, and as such, it's little wonder that there's the odd thing players might not have picked up on whilst on their travels. For today's list, we're taking a look at some of the fun secrets that are dotted around Starfield's universe that you might not have spotted. We will try to avoid spoilers where possible, but we'll be talking about planets that can be visited and such, so we're putting a mild spoiler warning in effect. With all of that out of the way, better make sure those oxygen tanks are topped up and your ship's up to code, because I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 things you might have missed in Starfield. Number 10. Multiple Skyrim references. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, a game in which players take on the role of an adventurer on a quest to slay a dragon that threatens to end the world, is quite a big deal for Bethesda, so much so in fact that they re-release the darned thing every time Todd Howard sneezes. As such, it's little wonder that Starfield includes a plethora of references to the 2011 RPG. The crippling skill, which gives players the chance to down enemies after they've taken enough damage, is initially represented by an X-ray of a human knee. However, once it's ranked up, the knee is pierced by an arrow, a delightful nod to Skyrim's infamous arrow in the knee quote.
I used to be an adventurer like you, and I took an arrow in the knee.
Additionally, one of Starfield's NPCs will tell the player character, I used to be an explorer too, but then No, never mind, it's a long story. Another clear reference to the arrow in the knee line. One keen-eyed Redditor, going by the name of Ruo Randamu, also spotted a cheeky nod to the Thieves Guild whilst looking through some prison logs. While scanning the text, they found the name Delvin Mallory, whom, as many Skyrim players will know, is a high-ranking member of Riften's Thieves Guild. I suppose that life of crime finally caught up with him. Number 9. Pop culture references. It's not just references to other Bethesda games that have made their way into Starfield. The devs have hidden some clever nods to other properties in the game as well. In fact, we could have probably filled an entire list with them. We'll limit ourselves to telling you about just a handful, though. Eagle-eyed Lord of the Rings fans will have noticed that the description of the humble potato in the player's inventory bears more than a passing resemblance to Samwise Gamgee's famous "potatoes" line from The Two Towers.
What's potatoes, Brussels?
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Whilst in the well in New Atlantis, fans of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies may have also spotted a neat little Easter egg whilst chatting to NPC Altagracia Gonzalez, as they can tell her that they're something of a pilot themselves, a clear reference to Norman Osborn's heavily memed,
"You know, I'm something of a scientist myself"
quote. Some players have also commented on how the hallucinogenic Aurora's blue colour and the yellow hazmat suits donned by its makers remind them of TV series Breaking Bad, and whether this is intentional or not, we're getting definite Heisenberg vibes. Either way, don't get involved with drugs, kids, not even in a video game. Number 8. Earthly landmarks. If you're out exploring the galaxy and suddenly you start to feel a bit homesick, then fret not, because Starfield kindly allows players to visit some very familiar territory indeed, though it might look a little different to what they're used to. When players are tired of planet hopping, they have the opportunity to touch down on Earth, which has been abandoned for quite some time. However, many of its famous landmarks still stand, and if players pay them a visit, they'll be rewarded with a nice shiny snow globe. Players who head on over to Foggy London Town in the United Kingdom can feast their eyes upon the Shard, the tallest building in Western Europe, though the version they find in Starfield has certainly seen better days. A trip south will take them to what was Egypt, where they can find what's left of the pyramids of Giza. Again, the ancient historical site isn't looking its best, but by that point the Great Pyramid is the best part of 5,000 years old, so we can forgive its janky brickwork. Another famous landmark players can visit is the Empire State Building, which currently stands in New York City and is home to a whole bunch of offices, though those exploring in the year 2330 are unlikely to find anyone slumped over their desk desperately trying to get a report done. Number 7. The Moon Landing. There are some who believe that the moon landing was faked, whilst others believe that it actually happened, and a few even theorise that it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. However, he was such a stickler for the details that he insisted on shooting on location on the actual moon. Da-da-ba-ba-da joke. Whatever your beliefs, and some of them are wrong, there's no denying that it would be really cool to visit the moon and see if that flag is actually up there, and thanks to Starfield, now you can! When players visit Earth's one and only moon, they can find the Apollo 11 landing site, where they'll discover not just the stars and stripes, but the remnants of the lunar module Eagle, as well as the footprints of astronauts Commander Neil Armstrong and lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin. Those who do make the trip will be rewarded not only with a chance to get up close and personal with a slice of human history, but with another snow globe. So whether you're all about spacefaring or just interested in hoarding collectibles, it's definitely worth taking a bit of time out of your day and treating yourself to a trip to the moon. Number 6. Sidonia's Hours Without Incident billboard. We've all seen those signs that say something along the lines of X days without an accident. Our writer has one that reads days without the cat attacking, and it's currently set at 0. But did you know that there's one in Starfield, and it's actually tracking whether or not there's been an issue? Those who travel to the city of Sidonia on Mars will see a billboard that reads Hours Without Incident, and most players probably assume that it's just a cute little bit of set dressing. Not so, dear viewer, not so! It turns out that the billboard is in fact tracking violent incidents within the city, and if the player character goes rogue and shoots any of its citizens, or performs any other kind of hostile action for that matter, the counter on the sign will reset to 0. What this means is that not only will players find themselves lumped with a rather hefty bounty for their nefarious actions, but everyone in the city will know that someone has kicked off and ruined their streak of peace. I hope you feel ashamed of yourself, you absolute monster. Number 5. Extended warranty. The drivers among you will know this particular pain all too well. You're sat, minding your own business, when all of a sudden your phone rings. Maybe it's important news. You might think to yourself, or perhaps I've won that competition I entered a few weeks ago. You answer the phone, only to be greeted by some cold caller telling you that they're getting in touch about your car's extended warranty. Day ruined. Sadly, we can't even escape these minor irritations in the world of video games, as Starfield has its very own NPCs whose sole purpose it is to track down the player character to talk about their ship's extended warranty. The transmission will come from an unknown ship and will advise the player character that their warranty has either ended or is about to come to an end, and implores them to take out additional coverage. Players can engage with the unknown ship if they'd like, but it is worth noting that the whole thing is a scam, so like in real life, it's probably best just to either ignore it or blast it with lasers. Only joking, TripleJump does not endorse the use of laser weapons on cold callers. You can tell them to bugger off though. Number 4. Adoring Fan. If you've played Oblivion, you might be familiar with this somewhat overbearing NPC. In that game, the Adoring Fan is an elf who latches onto the player after they become the grand champion in the Imperial City arena, and his constant adoration has turned him into something of a meme. Never ones to miss out on the opportunity to laugh at themselves, though, Bethesda have included the Adoring Fan in Starfield, only this time players can choose him as a starting perk, and he's even voiced by the same voice actor as the one in Oblivion. The hero-worshipped trait has its pros and cons. It is perhaps the easiest way for players to get themselves a crew member who can either follow them around or be sent off to an outpost to make money. The Adoring Fan's points in weightlifting can make him a good pack horse, and he'll occasionally bestow gifts on the player, which is quite nice. The downside, however, is that he never shuts up, and whilst it is quite fun to have him follow you around and sing your praises in the beginning, it soon becomes grating after a short while. Yes, I know I'm great. Will you please shut up? Number 3. Mars Easter eggs, Opportunity Rover, Doom, and Quake references. So far, humans have been unable to make it as far as Mars, but the good news is that we don't have to miss out on all the Red Planet has to offer, as Starfield gives players the opportunity to experience it for themselves, and if they're paying attention, find an Easter egg or two while they're at it. The first, quite heartbreakingly, is Opportunity, the explorational rover that was sent to Mars by NASA in 2003 and sent its last transmission interpreted as "My battery is low and it's getting dark" in 2018. No, I'm not crying, you're crying. Despite sending over 1,000 signals to Opportunity, NASA have heard nothing further from the plucky little robot, and in 2019 its mission was deemed complete. Starfield players can find the unfortunate rover by interacting with the MER program exhibit during their first visit to the NASA launch tower, which will add finding it to their list of activities, and they can then head out onto the surface of Mars to locate Opportunity. The second, less depressing Easter egg on Mars is a reference to id Software titles Doom and Quake. If players speak to Noam in Sidonia following an earthquake, the robot will quip, "No doom with this quake," a helpful reminder that subterranean particle fracking has resumed after its recent hiatus. Good to know. Number 2. Alpha Centauri planets are named after real astronauts. You do have to wonder how fun a game like Starfield is for those who have actually been to space, and I imagine the experience is somewhat akin to what it's like for us normies playing Job Simulator. The reason I ponder such a thing is owing to the fact that the planets in the Alpha Centauri system in Starfield have all been named for famous astronauts, as have their respective moons, and it would be nice to know that all the space lads and lasses for whom these celestial bodies take their names know that tributes have been paid to them. There's Bondar, named after Roberta Bondar, Canada's first female astronaut; Gagarin, which shares its moniker with Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space; Jemison, a planet named for Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space; and Olivas, which is named after John D. Olivas, an American engineer and former astronaut. Each of the moons in Alpha Centauri, Kerbeam, Grissom, Kurtz, Lovell, Hawley, Voss, Chawla, and Zamka are also named for famous astronauts, though we assume the space stations in the system, the Eye and Star Station RE939, aren't. At least not unless there are astronauts out there with some really peculiar nicknames anyway. Number 1. Elder Scrolls 6 Easter Egg. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was released all the way back in 2011, and since then fans of the series have been wondering exactly when Bethesda are going to bestow the next installment upon them. According to the studio, the game is in development, but at the time of writing we've absolutely no idea when it's due to come out, though Todd Howard has hinted that we're looking at 2026 at the very earliest, so for now you'll have to make do with whichever version of Skyrim is the latest whenever you're watching this video, and a neat little Easter egg hidden in the lodge in Starfield. Whilst taking a look around the lodge, Reddit user Just Chill a Little came across an unusual combination of items on display on a shelf. A closer look revealed the items to be a scroll holder popped up by a copy of the book Great Expectations. How bizarre. They went on to theorise that the scroll holder and choice of book were not simply set dressing, but they are a clever nod to the upcoming Elder Scrolls title, which is indeed held up by Great Expectations. Cheeky, Bethesda. Very, very cheeky.